I appreciate that. This morning I went to Waitepedia.
Oh, yeah. To Waitepedia?
Waitepedia. Did you like that one?
I like that a lot.
There you
That's
go.
fantastic.
There you go. So one question,
yeah, sure.
15 minutes of content, that's all I get.
You're a good man. You're a good man.
Ooh, so stoked about this week's guest, Johnny Waite. Welcome back to the Sensei Says podcast, Saitos. I am Sensei Pascal, back inside my Saint Julie, Quebec, Canada humble podcast dojo. Thank you for choosing my podcast today or watching on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Sensei Says podcast. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, subscribe, hit the bell, like, comment, because I always like to read what you guys have to say. Share the info, the love to a friend. Same goes for any audio platform you might be listening on. And speaking of which, tune in till the very end of this podcast. I got a very cool giveaway for you guys. Your chance to spend $100 on me on Amazon. That's right, an Amazon gift card to win. I'll tell you all about it at the end of this podcast. And if you're not watching on the YouTubes, please do so. What are you waiting for? Because if you've been watching on YouTube, you know, if you're a geek just like me, that in the background I've got my toys. Yeah, I'm not 22. As if that were the age, right? 21, you can play with your toys. 22, don't touch any of that stuff. Right in the garbage can. No. I've got my toys in the background because I just like them. So I've got my Transformers, my GI. No, I don't have any GI Joes. I have to put that on the bucket list. I've got my Ghostbusters. I got my Lego Back to the Future figurines. That's super cool. And what's even cooler is my luchador mask, which comes from, I bought it precisely in Mexico City, Mexico, before attending an actual authentic luchador event that was crazy, and I was seated ringside. I'll have to tell you about it someday, but enough with the luchadores and the clotheslines and the huracana of the top rope. On to our main mission. And our mission is to offer you weekly discussions through which we find relevant advice to improve our lives. And this week, I'm really honored, privileged to have a man that I, again, have the privilege to call a friend, a mentor, Johnny Waite. He's the co-host of the Spartan Up Podcast, multiple-time survivor of the death race, one of the most extreme races on the planet, former race director for Spartan Race in Canada, an all-around amazing human being. And we're talking about happiness. It's a huge theme out there. I know it is for you guys, certainly is for me. How to find it, how to create it, why am I alive? All these existential questions we will assess with Johnny in the interview coming right now.
I am
there
ready.
you go.
Rock
there you go.
Roll. Rock and roll.
That's a Spartan for you.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you're the only interview I did not prepare at all.
Good.
Well, I didn't need preparation for you, man.
We have a background.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah,
there you go. So Tao, wonderful, freezing, cold, snow, Olympics. My first time here, it's just wow. But on you, man, your background, because we've been like around each other for the past 2 years, around Spartan things, but I'm interested in your background. What got you here? And the people, they know you. You're beloved like all over the world.
Thank you, brother.
I wish I were the same.
Well, I'm a lot older. That's all it is.
That's your wisdom.
You have lots of time.
Beautiful men and wives. There you go.
Thank you.
So what's your history?
So I came into all this very serendipitously. I had a real straightforward life, a good childhood, good everything, good education. I had a real estate business for a long time. And then in 2008, I'd made a couple of life decisions that they seemed like good decisions at the time and didn't do anything wrong, but they just didn't work out. And it really had a total reset. Like 2008, I had to start again with everything. My wife and I had separated very amicably, still one of my best friends, but my business had folded. I'd gone from big house, new cars, everything being sort of, that American dream, North American dream, to like literally sleeping in the back of a old pickup truck that I bought with a cap on the back, and I blew up a mattress in it and spent the better part of 2009 literally living in that. Had 2 kids who were wonderful. I'd set my ex-wife up so that they had a good place, and it was wild. Like I had to really like go right back to basics, and how can I be a great dad? How can I be a great supporter? How can I be a good person? But I'm sleeping in my car.
Yeah.
And it's funny because nobody really knew. The year before I'd been nominated as the business leader of the year in my town, citizen of the year.
All right.
And but it was just a total reset for me. And during that time I thought I gotta just start doing some new stuff. And I wasn't really a runner, so I went and ran a marathon to see how that would feel, and it felt wonderfully terrible.
But you weren't a runner.
No, I hadn't really run since high school when I trained for wrestling.
So how did you prepare for your marathon? You just sign up and showed up?
Yeah, I went out and ran like a few 5K training runs and things like that, but I hadn't really run a race at all. That was the first real race I'd ever run.
So I was the first 48 hours after the marathon.
It was tough. It was really tough. Yeah, walking upstairs backwards and things like that. But it was great. What I found was during that run, it was the first time in many years that I couldn't change the channel. Like I couldn't get on my phone and send someone a text. Like when an uncomfortable thought would come up, I actually had to sit with it. Like I had not in many years before that actually sat with an uncomfortable thought, because you can always find some way to distract yourself, right? Even talking to somebody about that thought is still distracting yourself. You're not sitting with that thought. And I cried for most of that marathon, not out of sadness, but out of just this weird overwhelm of actually processing stuff. And what I discovered was the forced solitude and the forced reflection of endurance sports, and especially ones that put you on your own for a while, were really great. So I went from that to a Spartan race. Just a friend said, you'd love this, and I went and did the one in Quebec, first one in Mont Tremblant. And then I stumbled into Joe's World through that, and I went down, and so I'd signed up for the 2011 death race, and that was totally different. Like I really did train hard for that one. Like I trained really hard for that. And
but you went from marathon to a Spartan sprint?
Yep.
And straight to the death race?
Yeah. So 2009 was a marathon. 2010 did another marathon, but I did the Spartan race in Quebec, and I got on Joe's email list, and it was like, you should do this thing called the death race. And it's kind of funny actually, because you had to apply for it, right? And you had to apply, and I think they were accepting anybody at that time, but they, you make it seem exclusive by making you apply. So I talked about it. I'd been studying some hypnotherapy, and I talked about that I'd done some scuba diving, skydiving, and like embraced my fears and these things. But when I sent it, I thought they're never going to select me, but I can tell people I tried to go to this really cool race. I just wanted the bragging rights of saying I'd applied for it, right? And then I remember being sort of kind of mortified when I got the email back saying you've been accepted.
Oops.
Yeah. Well, now I have to do it, right? But it was the first time since many years before, it had been a university restaurant, that I'd really, really trained. I started going to the gym a lot. I started doing a lot of uncomfortability training. And that's something whenever people reach out to me and they're going to do a death race or a go or something like that, and they say, how can I train for it? I say, you just need to train in being really horribly uncomfortable. And we talk a lot about that. I think it gets overused, that get comfortable being uncomfortable. But I'm not talking about like getting out of your comfort zone. I mean like just hating it so much. And I have a younger brother who I asked him to set up a day of training for me. And he called me the night before the coldest day of the entire winter. Like it was like dangerously cold, and said, yep, it's tomorrow. And and I showed up, and it was awful. Like it was in and out of water. And I remember this one thing where I had to, while it was freezing cold, reach into a garbage pail that he'd filled full of water out of a stream, and then put snow on the top so it was slush. And at the bottom he dropped all these screws, like little tiny screws and screwdrivers. And I had to pull a screwdriver out and then reach back in and pull out screws that match that, and then drive them all the way through a 2x4 by hand.
Wow.
It's just freezing. And I remember, and this is just one part, it went for like 16 hours, and it was so Sisyphean. Do you know the word Sisyphean? Sisyphus?
No.
So it's a Greek word. Sisyphus was punished by the gods, and you see the picture of the guy rolling a rock up a 45-degree hill.
Yeah,
and he's a big rock, and the thing is, you can never stop it or roll back over you, and that's Sisyphean. It was like, dude, this just never ends. And I remember getting really angry at him, and I said, Jamie, this is stupid. Like I didn't ask you to do something stupid. I asked for something hard. He said, is that what you're gonna tell Joe when you get down there and it's really hard and stupid?
Yeah.
And I realized that, wow, he's so right. Like I want to quit so badly right now, and I could justify it so badly right now and say this is just training, this is dumb. But that's just going to set up how I do everything else. So anyway, that's a bit of a meandering sidetrack, but it was that kind of training that set me up. So when I went down to Vermont in June of 2011, finished the race. It was 45 hours. And the coolest part about that race, I could tell you a million stories about it, but there were 300 people signed up, 200 people showed up, 30 of us finished.
Wow.
And you had to get to a certain point by 3:30. And when you got to that point, you were told what was next, and you were told you had to be back, I think, about 4 o'clock at this church. I got there just before the cutoff. I think it was the last official person to get there before the cutoff, and anyone after that didn't make it. And I got there. This is after 45 hours of the hardest stuff ever. My shoulders were raw through, like through to meat. Like there was no skin left on my shoulders at all from my pack. I'd actually broken a foot that I just kept cinching my boots tighter and tighter and tighter to be able to keep going. It was the 5th metatarsal on the outside of my foot. And I got there, and it was the organizers said, congratulations, you've made this cutoff. Here's what's next. And they laid out about 60 more hours worth of work, and they told me exactly what was going to happen. They said, no support, no crew, no aid stations, no anything, and you have to finish it. If you go past this point and don't finish, you're out. But you got to decide if you're going to keep going. And I think about half of the people who made it that far said, I can't do it, I'm out. That's great. No, thanks for everything, but there's no way I'm going another 60 hours. And I got there and I said, of course, absolutely. Tell me what I have to do. And they said, well, you have to be at this church in 45 minutes, get cleaned up, and then you got to go right back out and start again. I said, great. So my son was with me, and he was 16, 17 at the time, a little younger actually. And I turned to a buddy and I said, can you drive him home? He can't stay for 2 more days. Just leave my tent and 1 change of clothes over there. Take everything else with you. I'm on my own. And they said, yeah, cool. We're going to come to this meeting, and then we'll go. And we went into the meeting, we sat down, and they said, who's still in the race? And those of us put up our hands, and they said, who was in the race but isn't in the race? And the other people put up their hands and said, okay, great. Congratulations, you guys are done. And so the race was over.
Wow.
But if you were somebody who got to that checkpoint 3 hours before me but said, I'm not doing another 60 hours, you were done. You weren't in anymore. And that was really, really cool, the idea that you don't know what the finish line is. You just got to commit to continuing to go. Anyway, all that said, I went back, did a few more, actually won the team death race in 2012, which is awesome. But I would say the reason I'm here is because the race in 2012, the summer death race, the only one that I didn't finish, that I actually dropped out, afterwards I was writing about it, and writing about how I'd realized very quickly that I'd learned more from that race than I had from the ones that I'd finished. And Joe got a hold of it, and it resonated with him, and he said, I really like the way you expressed that. Can you write some things for me? And I said, sure. And I didn't say, how much am I going to get paid or where's my contract? He said, sure, I'll write for you. And so I started writing some things for him. And then he asked me to help to facilitate when they were starting the SGX and the Agogi to bring some of the minds together. He brought them together, and it was my job to sort of make sure that they collaborated well. Mm-hmm. And all this was just because he just reached out and said, can you do this? I'd say, sure. And I wasn't really asking to be paid for it. And then one day out of the blue, I got a call at the end of 2012, and it said, we need an international quality manager. Can you do it? And I'd never done international quality in anything in my life. I'd never done quality in anything in my life. I said, yes, of course I can. And that's what led to the 3 years of traveling around the world, going to the new markets that Spartan was opening up, Australia, Mexico, all over Europe, all over Asia. And it was to go and just help them do things right from the start, not reinvent the wheel. And and then 2016 I took off. I said I've been traveling nonstop for 3 years. It's been a great opportunity for my kids. They've come with me on a lot of the trips too, and we've stayed very, very close all along. I skipped a whole bunch of stuff, by the way. There, last time I was in my truck and now we're standing here. Along the way, I'd started a coaching business back in Ontario. I'd studied hypnosis, so I was helping people with fears and phobias and things like that. Coaching my kids in wrestling, spending a ton of time with them. So life was back on track. But then at the end of 2016, they said, we have a new licensee in Canada. We need a race director. Can you help us find one? I couldn't find them one. I was really trying hard to find them one, and so I just ended up doing it myself, and that's where we met. So I became the race director in Canada for 3 years, which has just come to an end. It was a 3-year stint with that licensee. It was awesome. I really enjoyed being the race director. And now the U.S. is going to be, there's still going to be Canadian people in position up there, but it's going to be run through the U.S. basically. And I decided that was a great adventure, those 3 years. So I stepped back from being the race director, and I'm doing other things for Spartan. So, yeah. So
such a cool story, man.
Well, the neat part about it, and this is what I really learned along the way, and what I love to share with people, is I was just as happy then as I was in my great big home, and you can be just as unhappy too. Like, you know, I really got present to the fact that what you have has no bearing whatsoever on your happiness. Now, unfortunately, what people do is what they don't have, quite often, they let it have a bearing, right? I read a great thing. It was a very spiritual guy named Anthony DeMello wrote, the only way it's possible to not be experiencing bliss in this moment is to be focusing on what you don't have.
And it's so true.
The only possible way to not be experiencing bliss is to be focusing on what you don't have.
Yep.
And when you're lying around or sitting around and focusing on what you don't have, yeah, it's easy to get really bummed out. But if you focus on what you do have and what you can do for other people, it's pretty easy to be blissful. And so that Spartan existence of literally living my car. And I'd get up in the morning, go down, and I'd have a swim at the lake, and then I'd go up to the YMCA where I had my $50 a month membership, and I'd shower there, and then I'd go have a coffee at a coffee shop where I could get free Wi-Fi so I could do my studying to get my coaching stuff.
Man, I do the exact same thing.
Absolutely, right? And the funny thing is, there's nothing bad about it. Like, it's tremendous. It's wonderful. And I remember part of the reason I started to run was because it didn't cost anything. I could just go run anywhere, right? And so, when people say, man, I'd get fit if I could afford a gym membership. Oh my God, you can do push-ups, sit-ups, burpees, you can run, you can climb trees. There's a million things you do. We have been convinced that we need so much. And people wake up, I've thought a lot about the idea of people wake up in deficit, and it's by design. Society needs people to think that they need something, because then they wake up and they become consumers. And you wake up in the morning, the alarm goes off, it's like, oh my God, I need a coffee, I need this, I need that, I need help, I need whatever. You don't need anything. Your eyes opened. Clearly you're in surplus at this point. You have more than you need because there's extra oxygen out there, right? You really do. You have more than you need. Now, of course, it's important to have goals. Of course, it's important to pursue things, but it's not because you need them. You don't need anything. And once you can get away from that need and realize that you actually have more than you need, you really do. I challenged friends a while ago. I said, give something away today, whether it's clothing, whether it's whatever, whether it's a smile, whether it's, it's funny if you're a smoker, give somebody a cigarette. Like, it's a terrible thing to say, but
that's odd.
No. But I meant that from the standpoint that, I use that example because it actually was somebody reached out to me. He goes, you have no idea about my life, man. I have nothing. I'm like, you smoke. How can you say you have nothing? He goes, well, what do you mean? I said, give somebody a cigarette. So that's why I picked that example. It was actually specifically somebody challenged me. He said, I have nothing. I said, you're kidding me. You're a smoker. Give one away.
Yeah, share the cancer, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. But just the idea that we really all do have more than we need. Yep. And the minute we realize that, the whole world opens up.
Absolutely.
And the crazy thing about that is, as soon as I started embracing that stuff, so much good stuff started to happen. And so that's how I got here. That's a long answer. What's the second question?
That's why I didn't prepare. I just know you, so I just need one question and then sit back and listen.
Thank you, brother.
That's a super easy interview to do. But if we come to the format of the podcast,
sure, yeah.
And I think you're an expert in personal success, what would be your 3 key points or pieces of advice on how achieving personal success?
My first one, and I'm going to take some things that are, fairly common that people talk about, but put them slightly differently. The first one is people talk about your why. They talk about, what's the reason you're doing this? Yep. Get clear on that. But the way I want to put that is be way more focused on trajectory than velocity. We all want things fast. We want things now, but we don't know what we want. But we want it now. I don't want to wait for it. What is it? I don't know, but I want it now, right? And so we go running off in all directions. We waste all this energy working so hard, not actually knowing what it is that we want. But if you can get really clear on your trajectory, get pointed the right direction. People talk about their true north, their why, all these things. Once you get clear on that, then it's just a matter of working hard and being patient, because it's going to happen eventually. And it will happen when it's supposed to happen. I don't mean, I'm not big into the whole, everything happens for reasons, things like that.
Yeah, kind of thing.
But if you know where you're going and you keep going there, you'll get there. It may take you a while, but we're way too focused on velocity.
Quick.
So, and the other thing is, once you set that trajectory, it might be right around the corner. You go, oh, I just needed to point that way.
Yeah.
Or it might be 70 years down the road, and you work from 20 to 90 to get there. But the great thing is you got there. There was a great quote. It was, I believe, Og Mandino who said, Earl Nightingale actually said, success is the progressive realization of a worthwhile goal. So it has to be worthwhile, and you have to realize it progressively, and that's success. So maybe you actually never reach that goal. You get hit by a bus on your way to it, but you're successful because you're always moving towards something, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, trajectory over velocity. And the second one is what I said before about the idea about stop focusing on what you don't have. Mm-hmm. Wake up with gratitude every day. There's a wonderful thing that I read by Rob Bresney called Glory in the Highest. It's an essay. And he says, this morning your eyes opened and you're awake. And through the night you've been breathing oxygen that you did nothing to deserve. It's just there, right? It's not that you don't deserve it, but you didn't earn it. It's there, right? And when you put that shirt on, that you just put that shirt on, you don't think about the thousands of people who are involved in. Somebody found the cotton, somebody built the machine that did it, somebody shipped it, somebody put the gas in that UPS. There are 1,000 people that brought you that shirt and you just throw it on like it's nothing, right? And if you can actually stop and just be grateful for things. So to actually understand that you are in surplus the minute you wake up. So trajectory over velocity, understand that you're in surplus, not deficit, right from the minute. Which also the corollary on that is be a producer. And by be a producer, I mean, we wake up and we consume. I want this, I want that, I want this, I want that. But if you want love, produce love. If you want this, produce this, right? Like people are like, oh, I love this. Great, awesome. Then put together a training group at home. Do something that's going to create value for people. And I'd say that's the third one, is understand that it's not about you. That it really isn't about you. Nothing's about you. It's about who you are in the world. Mm-hmm. And we only exist in relation to other people. And so what can you do for someone else? Like, and at the end of the day, we're all going to die. And what did we do while we were here? Yeah. And it's not monuments for ourselves. It's not, success. Money doesn't matter. These things don't matter other than what they allow you to do for the world. So those are my three things. It's trajectory over velocity. Understand that you are in surplus, not deficit. So be a producer, not a consumer. And then the last one is realize that it's about way more than you, and the only way that you matter is in your relation to other people. So focus on that. And you're a thorough example of that. And me standing up here is just a proof of that, because without you, I'm not standing here. So I know I've thanked you like times over and over again, but I had to do it again. Yeah. If 3 years past in Ottawa, if we don't shake hands, start talking, I'm not here. So if you don't believe in me, if you don't see something in me that at that time I didn't see even myself, push me to do a go-gi, push me to do all those crazy things, I'm not here, man. So thank you, because you've been a mentor for me for the last 2 years. Well, I remember very, very clearly. I just want to say, I remember walking past your car, and you had it logoed up with your business. Yeah. And you just had such great energy. And I just remember that I'd seen you contributing and running around and doing things. And I came over and just said, I just walked up and said, hey, dude, I just want to tell you, you've got awesome energy. I really appreciate everything you're doing here. And you said, that's great. I wanted to talk to you. I'd really like to get more involved. And it's been a neat, circuitous path, right? Like we sort of had some false starts along the way. I'd made some weird decisions. And the cool thing with you is when a hurdle came up along the way, right? I sent you down a wrong path, and you didn't say, well, that didn't work. You said, cool, what do I do now, right? I love that that whole thing. So what? So in the face of this, now what, right? And so it's okay. So that direction that I started down, I ran into a wall. What do I need to do now? And then over the next year, you finished your SGX, your SGX2, your Agogi, your Hurricane Heat. You just did thing after another after another. And now you're standing here in Tahoe doing interviews. I'm part of the Spartan World Media Fest. You've been a huge contributor to that. You've met all these great people. They've met you. Yeah. So it is funny, because I remember so clearly walking by and thinking, that guy's cool, got cool energy, and I just popped up and said, hey, dude, I really appreciate everything you're doing. And you've taken that very small spark and turned it into all this. So congratulations to you, man. See how good you are? I tried to compliment you, and you turned it right back at me, man. But I'll accept. I'll accept the compliment. No, I will. I appreciate that. No, it means a lot to me. It really does, and I do appreciate that. So thank you. And I appreciate that. This morning I went to Waitepedia. Oh yeah. to Waitepedia. Waitepedia. Did you like that one? I like that a lot. That's fantastic. So one question. Yeah, sure. 15 minutes of content. That's all I like it. You're a good man. You're a good man. All right. Total disclaimer. I swear. The epic music you heard at the end when we were giving each other praises, that wasn't added. That actually happened. And while I was editing the interview,
I just was as surprised as you about the timing of the thing. It's awesome. It's the magic of podcasting, and we both deserve it. Yes, we did. Yes, we did. It's not a matter of ego. We're amazing human beings. You guys are so lucky. And the ego goes boom. So yeah, of course, I am joking. I hope you really enjoyed the prior conversation, and let's review what we've learned today from my good friend Johnny Waite. Easy conversation for me today. So number one, trajectory over velocity. So it's where you're going and not the speed at which you are going. Practice patience. And this is a value that's beginning to disappear in today's society. So, and I'm learning that myself as we speak, growing this YouTube channel. I'm learning about patience. So it's what you want to achieve. Focus on that and take the time to get there. Every day is a hassle. Every day is hard work. And if it's worth it, it's not gonna be easy. Number two, be grateful. So, and it also, I think it's a consequence of our society based on consumerism, always wanting more. We want the new iPhone, we want the new iPad, we want the new this, the new that. And we are always focused on what we don't have. We should just take a step back and really realize how much we have. If you've got someone who loves you on this planet, like my good buddy Johnny said, we're in surplus. You're in surplus. That's way more that some people have. If you've got clothes, you're in surplus. If you don't have to worry tonight about where you're gonna be sleeping or tomorrow what you're gonna eat for breakfast, you're in really, really huge surplus. Number three, it's not about you nor me. It's about the whole picture, the bigger picture, the macro stage of everything that we call the human experience. I know that sounds like really deep and philosophical and we need some herbal tea right now, but it's not. We're actually part of a bigger system than just ourselves. We are but pieces of sand in this grand universe. So from that perspective, be one, again, grateful for the life that you have, but and I think this term is a perfect. When Johnny Waite said, be a producer, that hit something with me pretty deep. So produce something to the world. If you've got a talent, a special skill, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, I'm a geek. So I'll take Uncle Ben. Not the guy for the rice or anything, not him. Uncle Ben, the Spider-Man uncle. With great power comes great responsibility. It's also my thinking and my belief that with great talent, with great qualifications, come great responsibility. And that responsibility is to share said qualification or said talent or said strength. So today, as you're finishing this podcast, I challenge you, share something, produce something, give something valuable to the world. That's the main point that Johnny is making this week. It's not about you. It's about what you give to others. Now it's your time to talk. I'd like to know what you have found out through this interview, and if you've got anything to add. What's your definition of happiness? Or if you obtained it, how did you do it? Please leave that in the comments. That's going to help people a lot. Share on my social media at Sensei Says Pod or my personal Twitter at Sensei Pascal. Everything I just spoke about, I just summarized everything that Johnny spoke about. You can always find that, and it's the same thing for all of my episodes. You can always find that in the show notes. So if you ever need to go back or make a list of everything we have taught here on the Sensei Says podcast, show notes are your best pal. If you like what you've heard or watched today, don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, hit the bell, share to a friend. We're gonna make this podcast grow as a community of Saitos. Thank you for your support. Now, I spoke earlier about a giveaway, $100 to spend on Amazon on me. So guys, here's how you can enter. By July 31st, you have to leave a positive review and 5-star rating on Apple Podcast. By that time, I will select a lucky winner randomly. I'm going to announce the winner on the podcast on August 5th. And from then, you spend $100 with that gift card, whichever way you like. If you want to buy those cool figurines I've got in the background, you may. It's all on you. It's freedom. That will make you happy. I just completely destroyed what Johnny said earlier. Oh, damn, what am I doing? What am I doing? So take the $100 and spend it on inspirational books. And don't forget to sign up to the newsletter if you want to get the episodes fast and first. Go nuts through the archives if you want to learn more and grow even further. On that note, Saitos, I will see you next week. Us, you are dismissed.
And put them to work to live a courageous life. You don't have to go through a near-death experience to change your life, because on the other side of fear is where all your dreams live.
Just that drive to be better than you were yesterday, and always pushing for more, and what can I do better?